The Singapore Armed Forces Commando Formation, CDO FN, is a commando formation of the Singapore Armed Forces, SAF. It is made up of only one battalion, the 1st Commando Battalion, 1 CDO. A specialized offensive unit, it specializes in preemptive operations involving small groups of specially trained soldiers in enemy territory. Designed to be executed quickly in anticipation of a reaction by the enemy, these operations are normally short-term and intensive. It can however be extended due to the availability of service support in hostile environments. The commandos are entrusted with two main important roles: strike missions and reconnaissance missions. Strike missions may involve direct combat with enemy forces, and the destruction of specific enemy targets. Reconnaissance missions are conducted by smaller groups of commandos, who may need to camp for long periods of time, to survey targets in enemy territory. The CDO FN's creation began in 1967 when two officers, Major Clarence Tan and Major James Chia, were tasked with recruiting eligible candidates from any unit in the SAF to form an elite unit. The SAF Irregular Battalion was formed on December 1, 1969, and was directly under the command of Singapore's Ministry of Defence, MINDEF. Captain, CPT, Tham Chion was selected to be the acting commanding officer, CO, for the unit, which comprised 20 men, and was assisted by 9 other officers. Major Clarence Tan subsequently joined the unit as its CO, and was responsible for establishing its training program. A second recruitment drive was launched in early 1970, with the aim of increasing the number of officers in the unit. The unit was renamed Singapore Armed Forces Commando Unit in early 1971, and its red berets were introduced on May 3, 1971. On 16th of July, the unit was renamed 1st Commando Battalion, 1 CDOBN, and moved from Pasir Laba Camp to Changi Camp. It had one company fully composed of irregular soldiers. In 1972, the MINDEF decided to allow full-time national servicemen, NSFs, to join the unit. The first NSF batch of commandos formed a second company, on January 15, 1973, with CPT Gui Peng Hong as its officer commanding, and second warrant officer, Tuo Kankayan Kun as its company sergeant major, CSM. From July 1973 to January 1975, the 3rd, 4th and 5th companies were formed, and were respectively led by CPT Boon Hong Lin, CPT Lim Siang Thong and Lieutenant, LTA, Dominic Tail. A 6th company was formed with 2005, with CPT Arnold Low as its SAC and Tuo Kazanathan as its CSM. In April 1975, the 1 CDOBN was restructured and placed under the command of the 3rd Singapore Division, 3 Div. In 1977, along with 2 Singapore Guards battalions, the 1 CDOBN came under the command of the 7th Singapore Infantry Brigade, 7 SIB, and received its state and regimental colours on January 22, 1977, from Goh Keng Swee, the Minister of Defence. On July 1, 1980, the 1 CDOBN was transferred out of the 7 SIB, and was placed under the direct command of Headquarters Infantry. The Headquarters School of Commando Training, SOCT, was established on October 1, 1980, and it took over command of the 1 CDOBN. The 1 CDOBN received a new formation sign from Brigadier General Tan Chin, the acting chief of the General Staff, and incorporated the winged stiletto as its new emblem along with a new medal, for honor and glory. The first company of the 1 CDOBN, which used to be made up of only regulars, started inducting NSFs from December 17, 1984 under its SAC, CPT Yo Lai Hu 8, and its CSM, Tuo Nathan. The first company also began training for long-range reconnaissance patrolling and divisional disruptive operations for the first time. In 1986, another tradition of the 1 CDOBN was created when the stiletto was presented to graduates from the 2nd Company during the Red Beret presentation ceremony in December 1986. This practice has continued since then, with the stiletto being presented to commandos who have completed 2 years of service in the unit. The headquarters Commandos was established in 1989, and it received its state and formation colors from Singapore President Wee Kim Wee on October 20, 1991. A new camp for the Commandos, Pandon Camp, was constructed near Sunjai Selarang, east of Loyang, and was inaugurated on January 27, 1994, by Lieutenant General Ng Juiping, the Chief of Defense Force. Pandon Camp has been the base of the CDO FN since then. The enlistment, recruitment process for commandos is stringent. Potential enlistees called up through selective further reporting order, to be selected by a vocational assessment, VA, and panel interview scheduled before they even formally begin serving national service. These candidates' medical fitness reports and physical fitness results, among other factors and criteria, are taken into account prior to their enlistment in the SAF. Shortlisted candidates are then subject to further tests and security clearance to ensure that they fit some criteria, such as having higher than average intelligence, physique and good eyesight, before they are selected to enlist into the unit. In recent years, however, with the increasing occurrence of myopia and prevalence of other health issues in Singaporean conscripts, the formation has begun taking in individuals with minor myopia, prioritizing leadership background and medical fitness. After completing a panel interview, the chosen candidate is then enlisted into one of the unit's companies, and proceeds for basic military training. The reservists, known locally as Operationally Ready National Servicemen, NSmen, form the major manpower strength. Commandonsmen are routinely called up for in-camp training, ICT, after completing their full-time service. As and when necessary, they attend refresher training courses at the School of Commandos, including a 2-day basic combat training course conducted a few months prior to the commencement of an ICT session. Men are also required to meet higher fitness standards in the annual Individual Physical Proficiency Test, IPPT, to maintain their combat levels of physical fitness. On January 31, 1974, 4 terrorists attacked the Shell oil refinery complex on Pulau Bkum, and hijacked the ferryboat Laju and took 5 hostages. After negotiations with the Singapore authorities, the terrorists freed the hostages, and left Singapore on 8 February on a flight bound for Kuwait. They were escorted by a 13-man team, of which 4 members were commandos. On May 8, 1975, the Commandos and the Navy stormed several vessels holding Vietnamese refugees intruding into Singapore's territorial waters. They kept watch on the refugees and the crews until they were resupplied and escorted out of Singapore about 2 days later. On March 26, 1991, Singapore Airlines Flight 117 was hijacked in mid-flight by 4 Pakistani militants, who took all 129 people on board hostage. At Singapore Changi Airport, commandos from the SAF stormed the plane, killed the 4 hijackers, and freed the hostages within 5 minutes. The CDO FN was awarded with the Medal of Valor.